Skylar Loves Scary Movies, and I'm back with day 29 of 31 days of subgenre horror challenge. Today's subgenre was backwoods subgenre, and the movie I've chosen is the 2007 movie Frontiers, written and directed by Xavier Gens, produced by Laurent Toleron, starring Karina Testa as Yasmin, as this character right here, Samuel Libahan, Estelle Libreth, Aurélien Wych, David Saraceno, Shems Damani, Maud Ferget, Amélie Darrow, Rosine Favey, Adèle Ben-Sharif, Joe Lefrancois, and Patrick Lee Gerards. Forget that right. Basic plot to this story is after a failed robbery, a gang of small-time crooks splits up and goes on the run from the police. Some of them seeking refuge in a seedy hostel deep in the middle of nowhere. That's where you get the backwoods subgenre from. Unbeknownst to the robbers, they host a bunch of neo-Nazi cannibals who will go to any lengths to turn their fascist fantasies into a reality. Our young protagonists' ordeal begins and are subjected to all kinds of mutilation and torture. They learn the true meaning of universal suffering. So, now here's the stuff that I wrote, and it's a long one. A presidential election starts off, a bunch of riot blazing the city, police pushing people back to go home. A massive fire consumes and people are getting away from the police. They start shooting at each other. A couple are safe. Then 3 men get stopped and one man is annihilated, and then the girl calls the 3 men and tell the girl to take him to the hospital as he's being shot. The guys manage to find them, start to argue and tell the others to meet them at the hotel while they go to the hospital. 2 men get in the car and drive off while the other 3 get into another car and drive to the hospital. They get to the hospital and the guy is on the bed telling his sister to keep the baby that she's carrying, and he's told her to run, so she runs out the hospital, gets in the car, drives off. Then the other 2 are in the middle of nowhere, tells one of them to get out and pretends that he's going to kill him, but he's only really messing about. Then the other car turns left and finds the hotel and waits there for the others to arrive. So once inside, they ask for a room. While waiting for the room, 2 of them are chatting to the 2 ladies over drinks, while one of them kisses the lady, and then they take a room together. Meanwhile, the other guy gets a drink and waits, then joins them all in a room and starts to make out with each other, where one of the girls keeps on hitting one of the guys. Next thing, they're all round the table eating food, where one guy tells him he's a Muslim, and then they start feeding their mum, and one man calls a girl a whore and they go nuts about it, but the other one says they were just joking about. And the next thing, they're lying in bed. The other 2 are on the way to see the other 2 guys, and then a policeman who's not supposed to be a policeman bursts in the room, starts asking them some questions, and then they try to make a run for it, but they get caught, shooting the guy's 2 fingers off. and one of the guys drives off, and the mad guy goes after them in his jeep. The car crashes off the road, lands upside down, just as the other car turns left. Meanwhile, the hotel, they clean up the lobby. At the hotel, clean up the lobby, and the belongings are put in boxes. And the other two are out of the car and hobbling along the backwoods, just as the other car arrives, and are being shown somewhere else. Unbeknownst to them, the other guy is tracking them down. The two guys are in a tunnel, see a light at the end of the tunnel. They're like crawling in this crevice, but are struggling to breathe, but still carry on crawling until they get stuck. The both of them, but one encourages the other to carry on moving, and then they tell each other to move it, where they both get dragged out of the tunnel. Meanwhile, the other car is at the old mine, so they look around. Then the guy with the video camera looks around as he's in a dark room and sees that he's not alone. Then the girl and guy are in a room full of guns and sit at a table. The guy goes to the toilet and the girl realises that she's in a room full of neo-Nazis. The guy who went to the toilet slips around and follows someone else to find a man hanging upside down and realises it's one of his friends. Then the old man talks to the girl at the table, and the guy realises that the man who was, as I've just said, it was his friend, tries to release him and runs off. Then he runs back to the house where they're both caught and chained and dragged around. Then the older guy says to his son, in order to succeed me, you need to marry the girl in the chains, even though she isn't pure, he says. So the son agrees to do it and are both dragged away. And Hans tells the girl to bleed him out. So she does that and walks away. Then the gate is locked. Another man runs to another room and sees all sorts of bodies and walks among them and gets upset, but sees one of them alive and backs away. The other two are finally free as they broke the chains off the wall. The other guy runs off from two men. Then the girl starts to dig herself out but struggles. The other guy is now getting gassed. The girl tells the other guy that she loves him and then escapes the gate. The other guy is still trying to release himself from the chain, and the other one is still getting gassed. Then the two girls and the guy pin the chain guy down and chops his ankle off. And now the gas guy is pinned down and then shot at execution style. Then the girl runs to get help, gets into the jeep, but it's not a good person that will actually help her, but is going to take her back to where she's come from. He tells her to get in and takes her back, then drags him away and asks to be killed. So they kill him execution style, and they then salt him up, and starts to dismember him. Then washes the other girl down and dry her off and finds out she's pregnant and has her hands chained to the bed. Turns around and another girl is there and tells her to put something on, then gives her something to warm herself up with, but refuses at first. Then drinks a bit, then cuts her hair off and talks away as the girl, who is heavily pregnant, misses her parents too much and starts to cry. Then the other girl is whimpering and her nose heavily running. So she carries on hacking her hair off until it's really short. Then they're all sitting at the table about to eat. The old man gives a speech telling all that he's doing everything over to his son. Tells his son to get up, he does. Tells his daughter to get up, she does. And when asks Hans to get up, he doesn't, but then gets a smirk on his face. Starts cutting the food, and Yasmin, who's this girl right here, she tells him that he's sick. Then he says, we have a plan for you, and you will be the last in line for our pure-blooded race. So they argue, and the son says, show respect to father, and then tells her to go with him now. And then before they go, they've got a kiss to seal the union so that you can be with your new family. And to put ends with all the quarrelness, they kiss, and then they toast to the pure blood and drink. And then Yasmin gets a knife. She threatens to kill him, but the gun goes off. Not only it kills Hans, but somehow the older guy, he's dead as well. Like, it kills the head honcho. Then Yasmin runs off down a lift, and then they shoot after her. Gets out the lift and starts to run again. Then the Jeep comes after her, the guy in the Jeep. And then the lights come back on, and she runs again into a room full of cannibals and hides behind a dead body as the guy is carrying an axe. And then next when she tackles him over, gets caught, and then he smacks it to the floor. Then she turns her head and he kicks her in the face. Then she tries to crawl away. She somehow gets the axe. She axes him in the foot and then in the shoulder, and then with the meat grinder she's grinding him to death. And she's now a bloody mess. Walks off. The son to the older guy sees this and then goes after her. Meanwhile, the cannibals go to devour the other guy. Then they're both in the lift. The son hits Yasmin repeatedly and asks her to drop the axe. When she refuses, he tries to kill her, but the girl that was heavily pregnant, that was hacking her hair off, she comes, shoots the son, basically blows his head off and tells her to leave in the car, but runs back. But Yasmin runs back to a man and basically covers the body up, grabs the keys and gets the gun and tries to run off, but the other two ladies, the daughter to the older guy and another girl, I think it's like, must have been one of the Heavily girls' children, they start shooting at first, and then all guns are blazing. It's like a proper shooting warfare commences until one of them I think Yasmin shoots the gas canister and it all blows out all everywhere. And Yasmin gets up, looks around, sees another girl with glass on her face, then walks out, but gets told to kneel down by the daughter, like, cause she comes out and says, like, kneel down. And then the next thing, Yasmin tackles her down, and then they start to fight, and then Yasmin bites a chunk off her neck, spits it out and goes, ah, and then has her arms out to the side, then turns around, like, tries to drag the heavily pregnant girl. She said, no, I can't leave, my children are still here. So she goes, okay then, gets in the car, drives away, and then as she drives away, she holds onto her stomach, and she's starting to cry. So I don't know whether she loses the baby or she's still got it, because they don't tell you. So she's in tears, screams, she drives off, and then there's a roadblock, and it's the proper police. And like, she gets out the car, and then the next one, she gets her hands up on her head, like up like this. And then that's the end of the film, so you don't know whether the police shoot it, or they take it into custody, or they look after it, so you don't know what happens. So that's the gist of the film. My thoughts on the film. Oh, wow. I thought coming into this movie, I thought I was going to be heavily bored. Oh, it's another one of them typical cannibal movies. But you know what? It wasn't. It was absolutely different. This was absolutely a gem compared to like A House of a Thousand Corpses. This was the story was well thought out. The gore was really good. Sorry. I love the story, the gore, the whole character, the dynamic of the characters. They each had a specific part to play, and they played it immensely well. Even the gun scenes, there was a lot of killing. But it was stylishly portrayed. It wasn't like in your face cannibalism. It wasn't like in your face chopping up bodies. It was styled really well. Like the whole ambience of this was absolutely brilliant. I highly recommend it. I just loved everything about this. It was a great story, and I mean, the way Xavier Jans portrayed this film was second to none. It was absolutely stunning. I loved Yasmin was a fantastic character. I'm so happy that she survived it. Well, we hope that she survived it. Do you know what? I'm gonna say something. This is gonna sound really weird, but I would love to see a Frontiers 2 just to find out what happened to Yasmin at the end of this. I would just love to find out what happened, because this needs a sequel to it. So, score him 4 out of 5, 9 out of 10. Have to give it stunningly displayed. I even like the song at the end. Right at the end of the film when the credits start to roll up. The song's brilliant. Which brings me on to tomorrow, which it will be day 30. I originally was going to plan to do Silo, but I'm changing it around because I want to do a movie done by someone that does the best special effects in the world, I think. So it's going to be a Tom Savini film, and it's my newest movie in my collection. You'll see this in my update, and I'm going to be reviewing tomorrow Blood-Sucking Pharaohs in Pittsburgh. So stay tuned for that. But you might see this review up later or tomorrow afternoon. I don't know, but I'll be doing this soon. So of course, stay gory and defo have unpleasant dreams. I hope you enjoyed this review, and I'll see you all soon. Ta-ta for now. Bye.